It was inevitable, but it was still super hard to watch. If you guys are new here, my name is Ashley, and this is my sweet perspective where I give my take on all things TV and movie related, y'all. If it's out, I'm watching it, about to watch it, or watched it and didn't like it, something like that. But if that's your speed, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Go ahead, hit it now in advance because I promise you're going to like it. And I am back to talk about Feud, Capote versus the Swans. This is Feud season 2, but of this iteration, we are on episode 7 with one more week to go, y'all. So I don't know what they're going to do in episode 8 because everything kind of came to a head in this penultimate episode. Again, we knew Babe's situation was inevitable, and we knew with the way Truman was carrying on that his was as well. It was still just really hard to watch, but I will get right into it, you guys. This is going to be a spoiler-filled review. As always, we'll talk about the things that stood out to me, not every single thing, because, honey, we'd be here all day long. So let's get right into it. And the name of this episode is Beautiful Babe. And I shed tears, y'all. I can't even front. I was crying like a baby during this episode. But we find out in the very beginning, Babe is talking to Bill, or Everwood Daddy, y'all know, in the very beginning. And she's like, you know what? I talked to the doctor. I asked him to level with me, and he basically said I have 6 months. I asked if I was going to be around by Thanksgiving, and the doctor told her that she wouldn't be. And so Bill's like, we can try this, and plus, why are you smoking, babe? Stop smoking. And she's like, what you gonna do about it? What you gonna do about it? I'm sick of you. What about my daughter? Right? And so now we're finding out that Babe actually had kids. And again, just going by what we've seen, not real life. And so apparently she has a daughter that she's estranged from. And he says, it's because you weren't there, babe. Like, you did that with your relationship. That had nothing to do with me. And so then she goes in on him and is like, well, you're the reason why you don't have a relationship with our son. And so it was just really a sad situation. And so ultimately at the end of this conversation, she's like, stop trying to buy me, stop trying to baby me, stop trying to make me stay here, as some sort of penance for all of your sins that you've committed. And he's like, fine. He's like, but you know what? I will try to reach out to our daughter. And so she's like, fine. Next thing we know, Babe is out to lunch, and at first we think it's just with CZ, and Babe is talking about how much she misses Truman, and CZ is like, I sometimes feel like the only reason you're not welcoming him back into your life is because you're afraid of what Lee and Slim will have to say. And Babe says, you know what, that's probably true. And so after that's done, she starts planning out this elaborate party that she's going to have in 6 months. We as the viewer know what she's talking about because we were privy to the earlier conversations, but they think she's just hosting another one of her famous dinner parties. And so she's planning it down to everything. And the ladies are like, oh my goodness, so what are we going to do? And she's like, this is for her funeral. And immediately, the temperature changes at the table. And Babe kind of starts talking, I really wish Truman was in my life. That was awful. I wish I would have laughed the article off. Because, he was my best friend, basically. And they're like, oh, babe. And Babe is like, look, we've done terrible things to each other. And we've made it past it. So why should he be any different? And I mean, honey, the way that these ladies were shady boots, she wasn't wrong. She was not wrong in that. And so they get a little bit emotional and they're talking about that. Babe, then the next kind of scene we see her in is she's having a ball with Truman. They are getting ready to go out for the night, honey. And, she's all dolled up and he's right there just helping her get ready, similar to what we saw in the earlier episodes of their relationship, that banter back and forth, him helping her prepare, them talking their stuff, goes into the bathroom and he's like, well, I got your bathwater in. And she's like, oh, I'm already dressed to go out. And he said, oh, I better stop it then before it overflows. And as we go into the bathroom, we have a scene of this beautiful tub sitting in the center of the bathroom and a swan. is in it, of course, which is indicative of the entire show, right? In this group of women, but namely his prize swan, Babe. And so while they're there, he's gazing out of the window and she's knowing what's going on, but he's there to help her usher her into transition, right? And so they're there and they're sharing a moment, and it's like, I think what was so heartbreaking about the moment is that they could have had it in real life if ego and pride and status and all of those things and judgment of others weren't a factor in it. And it was just heartbreaking to know that she went on without any resolution between she and him. Really, 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 really sad. So simultaneously, we're seeing her in this dream with Truman. We also see her in the room. She's surrounded by, Everwood Daddy, her boys. And then as she's about to take her last breath, her daughter comes in, which again is another moment. If you've ever lost someone, you could relate to this. You could totally empathize. I think the directors in this episode did a great job of capturing what that feels like, especially kind of coming in at the last hour. And so the daughter comes in and we see Babe actually take her last breath, which again, so heartbreaking. The next scene opens up and Truman is being shaken awake by CZ. CZ has gotten to the doorman and has gotten access to the building and his apartment, and she's shaking him to wake him up. As soon as he wakes up, CZ's like, Truman, and Truman is like, Babe's gone. And CZ was like, yes. And so they share an embrace where it seems that he's overly emotional in that moment. But the next thing he's like, I got to get up. I got to finish writing. I got to write this. And so CZ is looking like, what is going on? Like, are you on the stuff right now, Truman? What is good? And he's like, I have to finish. And she's like, finish what? And so she goes and he's like, the eulogy for Babe, because who else is going to read it? I have to get it done so that I can present it at her funeral. And so she's like trying to explain to him, honey, Bill's going to have security there. You are not allowed anywhere near the premises. You are not allowed to be there. And in that moment, you can kind of see like, oh my gosh, this awareness, right? And he's like, I have to be. Babe would want me there. This is what it is, And so he's, sitting there at his writing desk, and CZ's like, well, just read it to me. And so, he goes on and he's talking about basically how losing Babe isn't really losing Babe, because for him, Babe is in everything, right? Her scent, her personality, her flair, like it's all a part of him. And if you loved Babe, then that should be a part of you, right? And so it's not really about mourning, but it's about appreciating the woman that she was, right? And so he goes on and he breaks down during that, and he's like, okay, so now I just got to finish my book and then I can go. Truman's ready to leave this world. And I don't think it was just about Babe. Of course it was. And they actually bring up his self-loathing. Jack does later in the episode when he's talking to him, but it's just this awareness, I think, of what he's come to, what he's done, and at what cost, and him never really being truly happy with the person that he was, right? And so the next thing we see, Truman is on TV, honey. And this is the first time we're seeing Truman this bad, where he can't even make a coherent sentence. He is slurring to the point of inaudibility, right? Like we're like, what are you saying, Truman? He's on a talk show and the guy's like, your drinking and drugs is going to take you out. And he's like, well, that's the expected end, right? And so he is hell-bent that he's going to finish his book, Unanswered Prayers. Answered prayers or unanswered prayers? Drop it in the comments below. And so, that's what he's saying. But this was a debacle. And so next we see him talk with Jack, and Jack is like, this is my last stop. I'm dating someone new. He told me to come and kind of talk to you. But this is the only reason you're here. The only reason why I'm here. Again, another last-ditch effort, for Truman to clean it up. And Truman's like, I just got to finish the book. And of course he can't let Jack walk away without disparaging him the more, because that is just what he does. Next thing we see is Truman in California with Joanne Carson. And she is nursing him back to health, or what she thinks she's doing, right? And finally, he's just like, if you care about me, if you love me, just let me go. And so you could tell that was so hard for her to do. And he's like, will you bring me some liquor? She's like, I've been enabling you already. No, I'll go get you a diet Dr. Pepper or whatever it was. She leaves the room and she's kind of torn. Like, do I call the police? Do I call the ambulance to come and render aid? Or do I really let him kind of just slip off gentle into the night, right? And so she gets 911 on the phone, but she can't do it. And so she sits there and she kind of waits him out. Eventually she goes to the room and we see that Truman is no longer in the land of the living. But while he's transitioning, he's with Babe. And Babe is in the room talking about the dreadful color of the wall and says it should be called putty. And Truman laughs and he's like, I'm almost out of here. And she's like, you've been dying for a while, Truman. And so again, they kind of have this awareness. We see them kind of go off into the sunset on the beach together. And I guess in death, they found each other. It was just so heartbreaking because you really hope that they could have had at least her last moments together, their last moments together, because for whatever way you slice it, in whatever ways they had the capability or ability to love, I believe those two truly loved each other. Just flawed, misguided, maybe egomaniacal in terms of Truman, but there was a real affinity and affection for one another. And I think them not being able to resolve it on Earth was the most heartbreaking part of it. But you guys put it in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of Feud, Capote versus the Swans, episode 7. We have one more episode. And again, I guess it's going to be the aftermath, because what else can we be talking about? Maybe Truman did finish the book. I don't know, honey. And shout out to a publisher who offered to send me the book. So I'll definitely be reading it, guys, in the next month or so whenever I receive it, and probably doing a comparison between the book and the show to see all of the liberties that were taken. But anyway, if you're still here, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, y'all. And I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.